Welcome to a football show, Monday edition. His name is Zach. My name is Braden. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, of course, every single Monday and Thursday here on a football show. Lots to discuss today as the Tennessee Titans preseason is underway officially. Of course, we'll react to what we saw on Thursday. A lot of talk about the quarterback, Zach, and no middle ground on the show today. There's no middle ground. He's either a complete bust or he's going to Canton. Those are the only two takes you're allowed to have on the show today as we discuss Malik Willis's debut in a Tennessee Titans uniform, right?
That sure is a shit what it feels like.
God bless you, Twitter. Never change, Twitter. Never change. So we're going to actually give you, hopefully, some thoughtful conversation about what you should be thinking and seeing and feeling about Malik Willis's debut. And then, of course, what we've seen over the weekend and at Monday's practice. He wasn't particularly great on Monday's practice. We'll get to a lot of Logan Woodside and Malik Willis conversation today on the show. Stock up, stock down. Some of the guys that we liked, some of the guys that we didn't like, some injury updates as well throughout the course of the show today. Zach, we will hold ourselves accountable because we told you there'd be 5 names we were going to talk about on Monday, and we have to judge ourselves and grade ourselves with no bias here. Straight up grade on those 5 names. We'll see how well we did. We did meh, in my opinion. So we'll get to that. I think you did much better than I did, by the way. So I'll just give you that's an early peek at that. We have some SEC infighting news that we'll get to. Some coaches fighting with each other at the same institution, which is always great. And of course, previewing the Titans practice with the Bucs coming up this week as well. So a lot of stuff to do on the show today. Zach, how are you? Good afternoon.
I'm doing good. I'm a little confused because our Twitter is not, it's been doing this lately. I don't know if there's a new update, but some of the live streams that are going on outside, not just ours, but outside of the 440 Sports world is just sending a link. It's not showing the video anymore. So I don't know why we're not doing the video. So I'm just kind of trying to figure that out on the side.
We'll see. Don't worry about that. Just focus on really good nutritional
I can do both. I'm a multitasker.
And no empty calories today on the show. Of course, special thanks to our wonderful sponsors, the Kingston Group, buildkg.com, for all of you folks that have something that you need to do with your house. Make sure you call them, the Kingston Group. That's buildkg.com, Nashville's locally owned, award-winning custom home and remodeling firm. It's a firm, Zach. I don't know why that makes it better, but it just does.
Oh, it definitely does.
Absolutely. And of course, Weiss Liquors, our wonderful and amazing sponsor as well. The closest liquor store to Titan Stadium. Go to Uber Eats, search Weiss Liquors, and have booze delivered right to your house and or office if you so choose. What's the new? We're workshopping the taglines. Zach.
Yeah.
Have we got it down?
They drive so you can drink.
There you go. That's good. That's good stuff right there. So make sure you check out Weiss Liquors. And if you swing by the liquor store, of course, pop in there and say 440 and they'll give you 10% off. So basically that's better than tax-free booze by about, I believe, 0.25% there. So technically better than tax-free booze. Weiss Liquors, Kingston Group are 2 amazing, wonderful sponsors. And of course, normally we would be in the Cast Collective studio. We are not today, but still you should check them out for all your private event needs, video and audio production needs. If you need something for one of your companies, if you need some business work done, if you want to have an event, Aaron and Sean can take care of you. That's thecastcollective.com. All right. Malik Willis, game number 1. He gets the start. And here's the deal. We talked about this over and over and over again. I'm going to give you my one big overarching take, and then we're going to spend a lot of time on all the nuance here because clearly Twitter has missed all of it. I think the one overarching take, and we told you this 2 weeks ago on the show. I think you asked me this, and I said, I would rather have him throw interceptions than roll out because we need him to learn from what he sees and what the mistakes that he makes. And that is exactly what happened on Thursday night. That is exactly what Mike Vrabel has said he wants him to do. Todd Downing, Pat O'Hare, everybody. It's what he needs to work on the most. He didn't always do that on Thursday night against Baltimore. But my overarching takeaway is that while that is all still true, the dude simply makes plays that the other guy can't, and I think he's much closer to Logan Woodside than I ever acknowledged going into this game.
Yeah. What'd you say? What happened? What happened?
Nothing. I'm just standing here talking to myself about Malik Willis.
Well, I mean, you just kind of ended it, and it was just like, that's exactly what happened, and I guess I was supposed to come in. And usually you ask me a question, so I was just kind of waiting for it. But, I mean, it did, but it didn't happen the way that they wanted it to happen because, according to the coaches, it didn't. And I think that's a big thing. Look, there was a lot to take away from the Malik Willis roller coaster, and what I think we found out was that people who did not listen to our show did not set their expectations properly. And that includes some media members who thought they were going to see something between practice and some major leap into nirvana, football nirvana, and that he was going to become a quarterbacking god. Like the people that went to practice thought this. And I don't get it. That we set the expectations. Everybody knew when you are looking at what happened at practice, the reports coming out of practice, everybody has known that he was going to struggle. And then everybody got hyped, right? Everybody got hyped. They saw that he was going to start and everything. And, oh, this means a lot. No, this means they want to give him the quality reps that they've been trying to give him. Quality reps. What are they going to learn if they put him behind the same offensive line that Logan Woodside had, right? With the same cast of characters. They ain't going to learn shit, and he's going to look even worse than what he did. And let me be clear. Malik Willis exceeded my expectations a little bit. Now, my expectations were he's going to have some great throws, and he's going to make a lot of mistakes. I don't think he made a lot of mistakes as far as when you're talking about getting the team out of the huddle. Taking the snap from under center. He didn't do any turnovers, even though there's one that probably could have been a turnover.
Yeah.
Now, he made mistakes
his first throw.
Yeah. Now, he made second throw.
The second throw. That's right. Sorry.
He made mistakes in that sometimes he didn't read the field. Sometimes he panicked, even when he had blocking. And I checked right before we came onto the show. I checked. He has the longest time to throw in both normal dropbacks and average dropbacks. Now, or the average dropbacks of everything. Average means your time to throw on passings, sacks, and scrambles. But the normal is just passing, does not include scrambles or sacks. Still the longest in both categories. So he had time. He had protection compared to someone like Logan Woodside, who had the 44th longest and had hardly anything going on. So this is including all the quarterbacks that played this preseason weekend. I don't get why it has to be, if you say something bad about Malik Willis, then you hate him. And if you say something good about Malik Willis, you have to say something where it's like he's got to be the starter day one. He is a redshirt. That's what he is. He's a redshirt freshman quarterback. He looked better than what I think people expected, but he still wasn't the best looking rookie out of the bunch. But he did what they sort of wanted halfway there. I feel like he was halfway there.
So it's interesting because I think you're right, and I probably should have said that. I think you're right that he didn't do the one thing that that I think the Titans coaching staff wanted him to do, which is to stay in the pocket, throw the football in rhythm, even if it's the wrong throw, the wrong read. That's something we can learn from. And what I should have said at the beginning of the show is that's what we told you before the game and all of last week and the week before that. We said better quality reps, as you're calling them, are not only about the competition and your surrounding cast, but it's what do you do to learn inside of that play. We've heard them now repeat themselves a bunch of times since the game. We want him to throw the football so then we can use it as a teaching moment. Stay in the pocket. We know he can do all the other stuff, and he showed us all of that stuff on Thursday night. I think that to your point about getting him out there as a starter, it's the Titans have to learn what he is. They have to learn what he is. Now,
well, let me interrupt you right there, just to add on to the fact that the reason that he got the start was because he got the start announced a couple of days ago to him. And what they did was let Malik Willis go through a couple of days as QB1. He got to go and lead the team, talk about certain things, lead meetings, whatever they do leading up to a game that Ryan Tannehill normally does, he got to do. It was an entire few days of learning experience as QB1, a simulation, if you will, kind of like the life itself.
An immersive experience.
Yeah, an immersive experience. So that's why he got all that.
Yeah, and so I think what matters is, and so like I don't know. Now let's get to, I don't know if you've got anything else you want to add about what the Titans think, because I think the Titans think that he's clearly close enough to Woodside to want to give him all these reps to learn what he is, and if they see what he is and learn what he is and have a clearer picture, because they already know exactly what Logan Woodside is, if If they can do that, then they can have a easier time making a decision on 2 or 3 quarterbacks or whatever. Now, you convinced me over the last month and a half that they are going to be a 3 quarterback team. Here was my initial takeaway from just like
we do one more thing before we get into this discussion.
I'm not trying to get into Woodside yet. I just want to go like, here's what I thought about Willis in the game. And it's kind of to your point about the media and their expectations, and sort of like they watched camp for 3 weeks and then like forgot everything that they saw in analyzing the game. I think he was better than I expected. Not by a ton, but I thought he was better than I expected. And it's for one reason. He makes plays. Like, he just does things that Logan Woodside can't do. So we'll get to that in a second. But the point is they need to see if he can do all the things they want him to do, and can he handle it? Does he make plays when the lights come on? And the dude makes plays when the lights come on. They just need him to learn all the other stuff too. And
it's a big learning curve, which is to be expected. Like, that is okay that it is a big learning curve. When I say anything, I guess for lack of a better word, negative about Malik Willis, please understand that, first off, I know that Logan Woodside is not some all-pro backup just waiting for his chance to shine. And I'm not saying that Malik Willis is some bust, but I'm coming in under the impression that we know that he is going to take time, because that's what we have always known. Unless he was going somewhere where he had to start, Malik Willis wasn't really going to start anywhere, unless maybe Seattle, because those two guys suck. But, unless he was going into a favorable situation, he probably was going to be thrust into the starting spot. That's been a pretty well-known thing about him. Hey, guess what? Who else didn't start their whole first year? Patrick Mahomes. It's okay. It is literally okay. And Malik is a third-round quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is a first-rounder, didn't play the whole year.
Steve McNair took 3 years. Aaron Rodgers took 3 years.
Yeah.
Now, different times, different eras. I get all of that. I think just in the game itself, I was excited to see him start and get reps and do the whole thing. And I'm glad that he went through the 2 or 3 day process of like building up to it. I thought to me, honestly, it's exactly what I expected, but he was a little bit better. So it's like, I expected him to have trouble reading a defense and letting it rip and with decisiveness. He had that problem. I expected him to be an excellent athlete, to show us his mobility and his playmaking skills. He showed us that. I expected a couple of throws to be just pure God-given ability. And he showed us that. I expected a few throws to be off. He showed us that. All of it was kind of what we expected, what we had seen at camp, except for I just think it was all a little bit better than I thought. And if you want me to transition into Woodside, unless you've got anything more to add.
I want to talk about the actual game. Like, nobody's breaking down the actual game, right? I mean, I'm sure that Coach Mack will be on like 15 shows this week and all that kind of stuff. And not to diminish Coach Mack. I love Coach Mack. But I think we could go through real quick and talk about some certain plays that I thought showed the best of Malik Willis and the worst of Malik Willis.
Perfect.
And let's start with the very first play. 1st and 10, the sneak flat to the fullback. Beautiful ball fake, by the way. I have to say, commend him on his ability on play action to be able to really sell the play action. I think he does a really good job with the balls in his hand. And
so you like the way he manipulates the ball.
I love how he holds the ball in his
hand.
Delicate.
Okay.
Real delicate.
Okay.
If you actually watch it in slow motion, I watched it a couple times this morning. He actually looks to make 3 reads. I mean, he looks in the proper rotation and makes 3 reads. And he made the best decision based on coverage.
Just a little touch, please.
Well, Torrey Carter should have got it. Would you like a little touch? But let's be honest, Torrey Carter's a professional football player. Catch the fucking ball. That's just how I feel about it. That throw was 3.5 yards long. You got to put a little touch on it. He could catch it if he's a man. He could catch it. Okay, so maybe he's not. I don't know what's going on with Torrey Carter, but he should have caught the fucking ball. That ball would have been caught by Kyle Juszczyk, right?
Okay, all right, maybe.
Yeah, it would have been. Listen, what I like about the throw is that there was a DB right behind following Torrey Carter. So he wasn't going to go to Torrey Carter at first. He was going to go, I believe it was to Racey McMath, but then the DB feathered off and went after McMath and cut him off. So he went to the right read.
Yeah, I agree.
Is it fast? Yeah. Catch the ball, though. I mean,
Okay.
that's ultimately when you're a pro in the NFL, you still have to do your job regardless of someone else.
We'll get to the throw to Haskins because that's one of everyone's going to rave about how great that play was, and it was. But there's a caveat to that play, and I think the problem was I'll get to that. The play you're talking about also relates to the throw to Haskins that was very, very good. So
Yeah, that one, I think
get to
he took the least muddy option. There were other on the Haskins play. There were other options to take, but he took the least muddy one based on what he could see on the field.
So the reason I bring that one up is because he went read 1, read 2, read 3, and that was Haskins. But I think that the vast majority of running backs don't catch that pass. I think Derrick Henry, that pass hits him in the face because he throws a bullet. Now, Haskins is very good with his hands. He's a very natural pass catcher. And Willis threw, again, a laser beam 7 yards downfield. It's okay to say, take a little bit off that. Like you take a little bit off.
Take a little bit off of it, but you still got to catch the ball.
Yeah.
It's
you're right.
It's kind of like to me with Traylon Burks and Logan Woodside down the end zone. I expect a wide receiver to make that contested catch. Do I expect them to make it 10 times out of 10? No. But do I expect like Nate Washington, Corey Davis, and AJ Brown majority of the time would have made that catch? Yes.
Sure.
But that's a personal preference more so than anything.
What about third down on the first drive?
I was about to say that. The almost pick six. Horrible. Feet weren't lined up. Should have gone to the second wide receiver because the slot didn't slip until Willis was already committed to the throw.
Yep.
But he was already being undercut by the DB. So the DB already had the advantage even before the slip, and you could visibly see it. That is the problem because he should have gone to the second wide receiver. I don't know who it was, but it was the second wide receiver.
I have written down for that throw, late decision, late throw, wide receiver trips, pick 6. That's what I have written down. So
and his feet. I think his footwork was sloppy. Getting into the second quarter, the second and 7 touchdown, baller play. I mean, sure, he could have kept rolling out to his right and gone front pylon with both wide receivers who were still committed to the pass play. Both wide receivers got open, didn't notice that he had already started running. So he could have done it. But that's the kind of play why you got Malik Willis, right? You got him to, okay, maybe I can go do this, but I know I can go get the touchdown.
Yep.
And that's to me is a baller play.
So I thought I want to know what you think his best throw was, because I think his best throw was the roll against his body, sidearm dump off in the flats, where that is one of those plays where normally you wouldn't want him throwing the ball like that with that arm slot off the back foot without like all the things. That's one of those plays that just a human that is just a great athlete can make. And that is ultimately where we'll get to Woodside versus him, but like ultimately there are just things that Malik Willis can do that Logan Woodside cannot. And that little bounce hop, lower the arm slot and flick it out to and that's a throw that just very few people can make. And that was like his baller throw for me. I was like, that was like a 6-yard gain, but it was very, very impressive.
I thought that and the pass to Mason Kinsey with 35 seconds left was a good one because that was the most decisive he was throwing the ball without being harassed and forced to do an angle like you're talking about. I'll say this. I think a great play to learn from was the 1st and 10 towards the end of the second where he did the play action, but he just didn't throw it to Burks who breaks on the inside. It was easy, and he still could not do it. That is going to be the play to learn from. And at first, I talked about at the time I watched it, I thought that Racy had to go and adjust to the ball that he eventually caught and had to slide on. But really, Racy should have stayed up on his feet and scored a touchdown. I think that was a good throw by Willis.
Here's what I'm curious, and I talked to some people today at practice about that throw. He was double covered. When he lets the ball go, he's double covered, and the underneath corner kind of drops off after the ball goes in the air, leaving Racy wide open. So I would love to know if the staff thought that was still the right read, because it does look like McMath is over the top of him.
There was another open wide receiver that I think should have been the read, but I mean, it was such a good throw.
Right. It was a perfect throw, actually, like only where Racy could have gotten.
You're right. Did he execute and do what they wanted him to do?
Now, hat tip to Racy for getting the hip down in bounds just in time to get, because again, 2 feet and a hip and all that stuff. Should that throw have been a little bit more over the top and down the field to keep Racy upright, to keep running? Maybe, but again.
I looked at today and I really think that Racy, when you look at it in slow motion, look at it from 2 different angles. It's like, why did Racy slide?
I thought he was going to go out of bounds if he didn't drop, but maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
I think there was enough space that he could have, but I mean, again, maybe Racy couldn't have done it, but maybe another wide receiver.
My question is, was that at the time of launch point, was that the right throw into what appeared to be from the pocket double coverage, or was it exactly what Todd Downing and Tim Kelly wanted him to do, which it might have been, because again, the ball was clearly over the top and Racy was clearly on the top of the corner, all that stuff. So I'm just curious. Can I talk about the screen pass? Because it's not going to be talked about very often, but it was a first down play where he runs the play action, dumps the screen off perfectly to Chestnut, who picks up a first down. Like, that's not going to get a lot of hype and a lot of run, but it is sort of what you have to do to consistently show the coaches, I know how to run the Titans offense.
Right.
And I thought that was again, it's not going to get a lot of headlines, but it was very well executed. The play action, the whole deal, the dump off had touch on it. I thought that was a good play.
Yeah, I think that was a good play too. And we'll talk more about Chestnut a little bit later in Stockwatch. Now we can get to the spin zone.
Oh, we're going to the spin zone. All right. Okay. So you convinced me over the better course of the last couple of months on this show that 3 quarterbacks is exactly what we're gonna see. It makes the most sense. Logan Woodside's the best to hold a lead in the fourth quarter if he has to come in or maybe win one game. Malik Willis is probably the best if they need to start him for 17 games, God forbid, knock on wood. So they have 2 different guys for 2 different roles on the team behind Tannehill. I saw what I saw on Thursday, and I saw a guy who learned some of his mistakes. I saw a guy who clearly has the it factor that Logan Woodside does not have, that he has athletic ability that he is going to learn and grow into at some point. I think I saw somebody a lot closer to Woodside than I expected to see. And I don't know. To me, I'm kind of like, this guy just needs as many reps as possible, and every rep he gets, he's going to get better, because there is no upside with Logan Woodside. No offense intended. There is nothing but upside with Malik Willis, who makes lots of plays. To me, it's just obvious he's the better player. Is he the better quarterback for this offense? I don't know.
That's where I land into it. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Who did this better? And Vrabel said, throw the ball without hesitation.
Probably Woodside.
Now, I don't mean that he threw it well, but he went out there and executed exactly what they wanted Willis to execute. This is why that Willis got pulled from the game, right?
When Todd Downing on Sunday said, we need someone who goes out there and on a moment's notice can execute the game plan and be as consistent on every single play as possible, all I hear is him talking about Logan Woodside.
Yeah. That is the thing. Now, I will say this, Todd Downing did talk about the turnovers and all this stuff, but the turnovers all deserve a little bit of context, right? While the decision to go to Terry Godwin was a bad decision, Terry Godwin did no favors by not doing the route correctly, right? I mean, it could have gone from incomplete or from an interception to incomplete, right? And we're telling a totally different story. Right. Here's the thing. Logan Woodside's not great. Logan Woodside is not a player, and I saw Daniel Frazier ask this. Woodside is not a player that is going to go out and start every week if Ryan Tannehill went down with a season-ending injury. That is Malik Willis. He may start 1 and 2 games, then Malik Willis takes over, right? Kind of like a Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson kind of deal, kind of situation. Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, I think would be a more apt thing right there. But everything that they said that behind the reasons to bench Malik Willis or take him out of the game
after the first
during
play
that
of the third
drive
quarter,
in the third quarter was because of everything that Logan Woodside did. Now, yeah, he threw 2 interceptions. You know, really when it comes down to it, you don't want your quarterback throwing interceptions, but he was willing to throw the ball. That was the game plan. The game plan was to throw the ball. It wasn't to scramble. It wasn't to go and break away and leave the pocket. It was to stay in the pocket, even to Logan Woodside's detriment of his health, stay in the pocket and try to throw the ball. That was the game plan. And the person who executed the actual game plan, albeit maybe not that great, was Logan Woodside.
Seems to be an important part of this, though.
Yeah, I mean, it can be, but let's also look at Daryl Worley. It should not be out there in the fourth quarter. Is not a cornerback that should be out there in the fourth quarter. The guy who got the interception off Terry Godwin. That is a mismatch, right? That is an obvious mismatch. But here's the thing. People are like, well, Logan Woodside should play better against the threes. Well, he's playing with the fours. None of those offensive linemen should ever be in a Titans uniform ever again, because they all sucked in the fourth quarter. That was a horrendous offensive line to play behind. The reason why Logan Woodside, though, was playing behind it is because A, they're not going to put Ryan Tannehill out there, and B, putting Malik Willis out there makes no sense. Logan Woodside is the quarterback too. All this did was improve, in my mind, the probability that Malik Willis maybe can push him out of that spot. Okay. So I went from 5% that they're going to keep two quarterbacks, 5% chance they're going to keep two quarterbacks. I'm now at 10%. So I moved up 5%.
All right. Can I do a different percentage?
Yeah.
Because you just said, I like the phrase you just used where you're like, the chance he could unseat Logan Woodside, right? Because again, Logan Woodside is the president of the dead backup quarterback zombie apocalypse club, Matt Barkley and Blaine Gabbert and like all these names, right? To me, I had Logan Woodside as the number 2 quarterback at like 95% for most of camp. And this is where I'm going to admit that my opinion has changed, not just because of one game, but because of what's happened throughout the course of camp. I would say, so 5% chance Malik Willis could be your number 2. I think that's more in like the 30-35% range now.
Wow, you're really bumping it up.
Yes, and it is not just because Woodside versus Willis and what Willis showed me, and sort of I saw some things I needed to see from him, which is just that pure playmaking ability that Logan Woodside simply cannot offer you. That like when things don't go right, or even when you do, Willis is just better. He's just a better football player all around. And that gives them a chance to win a game, whereas I'm not sure Woodside has the skills to win a game unless Derrick Henry's going to go for like 300 yards. And so I think the chance, like they threw him out there to start him to see to learn about him. They ran him with the 2s all practice on Monday and over the weekend to continue to see if what they're seeing, learn about him. And so to me, I think he closed, in my head at least, he closed the gap a pretty big chunk.
Yeah, you went way. I just don't see it because I think people aren't paying attention to reports in practice, because I think Logan Woodside is clearly better in practice. And I know that doesn't translate to a game, but you have to look at the game situation and what he's being asked to do. What they were both being asked to do on Thursday's game is not technically what they would probably have them do on a Sunday in regular season. They're not going to ask them to go out there and sling it, but that's what they wanted them to do, and Logan Woodside did that. If they go in and say, Logan, hand it off to 20 times, and you're probably going to pass 20 times, that's the guy that's going to be able to do that.
I'd still. So again, I didn't change my thinking on keeping 3 quarterbacks. I'm just saying I think he closed the gap for number 2 by a large chunk. And again, 30%, whatever number you want to put on it. I just think he gained a lot of ground in my head. He's shown a lot of progress in camp. Now, Monday, his practice was not particularly good. He showed all the same problems that he showed in the game. So he's going to have to continue to show progress in that decision-making, be decisive, let it rip kind of way. And that is absolutely true. But I still would take his upside and athletic ability over Woodside not knowing where the football is going to go. Even though he knows where it's supposed to go, his arm doesn't always get it where it's supposed to go. So I haven't changed my chances that they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks. I still think, to your point, that's still in that 5-10% range. But I think the gap has closed significantly. And I would not be surprised if he continues to show progress over the course of the next few weeks, that by week whatever, I don't know what week, 3 or 4, that Logan Woodside's on the waiver wire. I would not be surprised that Willis is going to gain ground quickly on Woodside and pass him fairly quickly. That would be my projection.
He could do it. I just don't know if that's for sure going to happen. I mean, if anybody can do it, it'd be Malik Willis right now. But right now, I just have to put it at like a 10% chance, because when you really get down to it, they're keeping 3 quarterbacks. They're not going to take that risk. And here's why. You can get to 51 players easily by going 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 6 wide receivers, which I don't even think that's a given. I think they could end up with 5, 3 tight ends, 8 offensive linemen, 5 defensive linemen, 5 inside linebackers, 4 outside linebackers, 6 cornerbacks, 4 safeties, 3 special teamers. So that's 51.
Yeah. No, I think you're. I think you're right. I think
let me ask you a question.
All right.
Pick two. These are your final two spots for the 53, right? We already got three quarterbacks. Pick two. A running back 5, a tight end 4, offensive lineman 9, a cornerback 7, or safety 4. So pick two of
them. Definitely offensive lineman. Another offensive lineman, because I think that's going to still be a major concern.
Even though they're all shitty.
I don't care. I want more bodies. I want more bodies on the offensive line.
Who's your other one?
You said safety
5. Sorry,
safety. I don't need safety 5. Not tight end 4. Not running. I don't love running back 5. Although Cannon is running back 5 right now, and would be a return specialist. So it depends on how much you like him.
So cornerback 7 be basically what you're. Defensive lineman 6.
I do like cornerback 7. I do like that, but what you're asking, your point is Braden, you get to pick 2 of those, and you get Woodside.
Yes,
is what your point is.
Exactly right. Yeah, I mean, are you really going to pick a third quarterback in this kind of day and age where you need the young guy, right? But you also need the guy that, if let's say Tannehill does go down, don't you want Logan Woodside to back up Malik Willis? Even in that situation, don't you want still Logan Woodside on the roster to still be able to be a mentor, to be the guy that can do all this stuff?
I see what you're saying. Let me ask you this:
do you want that, or Trenton Cannon, or Julius Chestnut? Do you want that?
I do like. They like Chestnut. I like Chestnut. Here's my question:
Chestnut will be on the practice squad.
Why would Logan Woodside get picked up by another team? Honestly.
I think when you look down to it at the guys that back up some of these similar offenses, with the way that they have shown Logan Woodside to be a leader, to be knowledgeable, I think there's going to be teams that would pick him up. When you look at the state of the backup quarterback situation anyway, I mean, it's nice to have. It's nice to have. So my thing is,
you convinced me a long time ago that they're going to carry.
I'm just trying to convince the readers. It's not necessarily you or the listeners. I'm talking to the listeners.
I'm on board.
I know. Can I finish? My gosh. Listeners, when you're talking about why would we need 3 quarterbacks that's wasting a roster spot? Think about, first off, does the team view it as wasting a roster spot, the staff? And what roster spot do you need that is so valuable on this 53 over someone like Logan Woodside or Malik Willis? There's not. When you start using common sense, there's not. When you actually write it all down, there is no situation. This idea that we can't keep 3 quarterbacks because we have to keep, a 4th tight end or a 9th offensive lineman, which I don't agree with. There's just nothing there.
Yeah, my argument is not even really related to some of that other stuff as much as it is related to, I just think Willis might be good enough. Like, he just might be good enough to be your number 2 quarterback. Like, Daniel asked this about 20 minutes ago in the chat, and he said, what record would you expect the Titans to go with? 17 games of Woodside versus 17 games with Willis. And that's sort of a different question, because then you're assuming a Tannehill injury of some sort. And like we've always said, and I think you've agreed with this, that is a Willis situation, not just because he might have a better record and has more upside and he can win more games, but because he's going to develop and grow, and there's value in that development process and that learning experience. So to me, that all I'm saying is I think he is closer to just already being better than Woodside.
I think
in all situations.
When you come down to it, and what Todd Downing said is that it's different situation for each quarterback when a play calling or play situation. So if Ryan Tannehill's already in the game, who's best to come in and finish that game under the playbook that they have and game plan for that game? Logan Woodside. If they have a whole week to prepare, it's Malik Willis. Currently, that could change.
Yes, that's exactly right. It could change. Right now, that change in my head was like this big, and now it's like, and this is the bad podcasting here. It was an 80 or 90% gap before, and now I've got it down to like a 65% gap. Like, I think he closed that gap that you're talking about. Who's better right now in game? I think Willis has closed the gap significantly because of just pure upside and playmaking ability. Yeah. And that is just pure raw talent that he's got that the other guy does not. Tim, of course, says obviously punter number 3 is who they would keep on the roster in exchange for Logan Woodside. So, okay. All right. Are we good with quarterback situation? We're good there. You want to do some stock up, stock down here on what we watched and what we saw over the course of the game, and then throughout? Okay, before we do that, remember our wonderful and amazing title sponsors. Make sure you check out the Kingston Group, buildkg.com. Zach, if you needed to add a whole new wing to your house, the Chateau de Leon. You're going to add a whole wing to that house. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go to the Kingston Group because it's the best place to go and figure out the highest quality and to figure out really what does my room actually need to look like.
I saw you look physically
looking around the room.
You're like, if you want, and they do outdoor stuff. They do garages. We built a carport with them. They did an amazing job, super high quality. And again, they are a nose to tail operation, which means when you go to them and you ask for something, they can help you design it as well. They've got an in-house architecture firm, so you don't have to have like 5 different independent contractors. It's a bunch of garbage in this city right now. So just go to the Kingston Group. And of course, for all your liquor needs, right before we get to a stock watch, Zach, go to Weiss Liquors.
And stock up on your liquor.
Look at that.
Look
at that.
Flawless.
Weiss Liquors on Uber Eats. It'll come right to your house as quickly as 20 minutes. I don't know what else you need to know. If you happen to be in the store, which was great too, make sure you say 440, get 10% off. So there you go. 10% off, tax-free booze delivered right to your house. And oh, by the way, right before you go to the tailgate, right after the Titans game, closest liquor store to stock up on all your tailgating and we'll call it celebratory needs after a Titans game because they're obviously not going to lose a game this year. So 17 and
obviously
17.
Love it.
Okay. All right. Stock up, stock down in preseason game number 1. Zach, where would you like to start? Whose stock has risen in your mind?
I'm going to start with it's a different situation. So I'm going to say stock up for Dylan Radins and Racey McMath. And here's my context behind this. Dylan Radins only had to play 7 snaps. That should tell you a lot right there about what this team thinks they need to see out of Dylan Radins compared to a rookie like NPF. And then Racey McMath, I love his kick return ability. And I think that if you're looking at keeping 5 wide receivers, 6 wide receivers, and he's going to be a kick returner. And let me say something. On Monday, they added more people to the kick returner rotation, which makes me think that while people were like trying to beat their chest and do a victory lap on Trenton Cannon, obviously didn't pay attention. The guy couldn't fucking stay upright to save his life and left tons of yards up on the field. So I don't think they're sold on keeping 5 running backs, and I don't think they're sold on Trenton Cannon like they were initially after seeing him in a game. And I think they're looking at the way this roster is constructed. Racey McMath stock up. He also caught a big pass. Dylan Radins only had to play 7 snaps. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Racey McMath also, and I was out there on Monday, ran with almost all the ones on Monday's practice. He is clear. I think it's not even a debate. He has clearly cemented himself as wide receiver number 5. I think the play that he made in the game, obviously, but it's more than that. It's almost every practice he is flashing on film and has gotten better since the first day of training camp. Des Fitzpatrick has sort of kind of come back down to earth a little bit, but it has had some good moments and some bad moments. He's kind of leveled out, I think, at wide receiver number 6. I think Josh Malone and Mason Kinsey and Reggie Roberson, I think, are all practice squad players potentially. Maybe not even Josh Malone. I think we've kind of settled in with our 6 wide receivers, and I would also add stock up there for Racey McMath as well. But I think that was kind of we saw the rise in his stock kind of coming.
Well, that's why I wanted to emphasize the kick return ability.
Yeah, his special teams is a huge part of that equation. There's no question about it. The Radins is interesting. I agree with your premise that for them to only give him 7 snaps means that they value him and that they don't need to see as much from him. They rotated a lot of first team reps between NPF and Radins over the course of the weekend and on Monday's practice, where they had 4 drills, 2 of them are 2-minute. Radins went first with the first team, then NPF went first in the second time through the drill. Then, 2-minute drill, Radins went first, and then second time through the drill, NPF went first team. So I still think there's more of a battle there than we think. But I think stock up for NPF. Had a couple of really nice blocks on the long chestnut run. He basically blocked 2 guys on that play. I thought that was really nice. He had a couple of bad blocks on practice on Monday. Let me ask you this, because I think Aaron Brewer's pretty solidified as the left guard for now. We're going to find out about Vita Vea when he goes to town this week. And the biggest, strongest, gnarliest defensive lineman that the Titans play is going to find the left guard spot. They're going to eventually line him up on Brewer pretty fast. So here's my question to you, just thinking out loud here. Is NPF at right tackle and Radins at left guard the most talented 5 offensive linemen on the team out there at one time?
Ooh.
I think it's no brainer. Absolutely yes.
Yeah, more than likely. I think that that's the one that could be better at the end of the year, if that makes sense. I
I
think
agree.
that it
I
would.
agree.
I think that my biggest worry about Brewer is can his body hold up for 17 games? With these guys, I think while they may be worse at the beginning because MPF is a little worse, and then Dylan Radens is, while better, is probably a little uncomfortable in the left guard spot. I think that eventually they would be the better 5 if they all
Yep.
stayed healthy.
I think on a pure talent standpoint, that's the best 5 offensive linemen on the team. There's no chance that Radens is a better tactician of the position than Aaron Brewer. And there's probably, I mean, again, I think MPF is still a step behind Radens when it comes to that. MPF just has pure athletic, God-given talent that very few people have at that position. So I'll be curious to see how this works out this week. If we're going to talk Bucs preview, that's one of the most important things to watch is going to be the offensive line as well for the practice week.
Yeah, I got another stock up. I got actually 4 more.
Woo.
But let's just go real quick. I think Des Fitzpatrick improved his stock. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you go watch the tape, if you go watch specifically the third quarter, that first series with the last play of Malik Willis and the first play of Logan Woodside, they both missed a wide open Des Fitzpatrick. And if you go watch the first and second quarter and what they asked Des Fitzpatrick to do a lot of the time was go block. And he was physical and he went and ran block a lot of the time. And I think if you're looking at keeping 6 wide receiver, I think right now Des Fitzpatrick is a tier above Mason Kinsey. I don't see any point in having Mason Kinsey if he's not going to provide value as a returner. And so far, it doesn't look like he is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Des has shown overall that he's the number 6 receiver. So I think right now I feel pretty comfortable with the top 6 that they've got, which, again, I don't know if we need to talk about Burks here. I feel like we should, because Phillips and Burks weren't really involved all that much. I'm not changing their stock too much with what happened on Thursday.
Well, Phillips only played 3 snaps.
Right. Like I still see him out there rotating in with the ones all the time. Like they're still out there making plays in 1-on-1s and 7-on-7s. Like I'm not overreacting to that.
On the jet sweep, Burks waited way too long to cut up field. I mean, horrifically long. He had a clear path to 10 yards, maybe even 15, if he would have gone earlier, almost right at the little hash marks right there.
I think there is a refinement of his game that they would like to see, just in general.
He was open a lot of the time, too.
He was.
So, they said, it was very inconsistent, and I can see why they said that.
Yep, no question about that.
David Anini.
There you go.
I thought he improved his stock and enough to be like a Reggie Roberson, going to be on the practice squad, first guy off the practice squad if they need someone to come in and play outside linebacker.
I thought he might have been the most productive and noticeable front 7 player on the entire team.
Fully agree. I think PV had the nice grab or the nice hand swipe, batted down pass. That's about it. I like Jaden PV. And he's a big guy, but he's not a guy that's going to push for that 6th defensive line spot based off of that. But he's going to be a great practice squad addition, much like what Tier Tart was, much like what Naquan Jones was. Like some of these guys will get their start and get their chance later, just not in year 1. Julius Chestnut, I mean, talk about a bounce back story. I love it. I like it. He's a practice squatter.
You want some more of it?
Yeah, maybe. I think he's a practice squatter.
I
will say, and we'll talk about this on Football and Other F Words on Wednesday's show, but I'm going to have Mike Herndon on, and he had the gall to say, I wonder if he didn't do enough to make them not need Hassan Haskins.
What?
Yeah. Utterly ridiculous. I think it's
a 3rd round draft pick or 4th round draft pick.
Completely asinine. Who's going to make it to the practice squad if you had to cut both of them? Who's going to make it to the practice squad?
Julius Chestnut.
Yeah. Hassan Haskins getting picked up by someone. I don't care what you say.
The guy who fumbled in the game. Haskins is on the team. I do think they love Chestnut and they gave him, a second chance and he delivered on a lot of nice plays. I think he's a nice player. I mean, he's this year's Mekhi Sargent, who should be on the practice squad, but he's a nice player. I like him. And I think Anini is the one that I think I would circle and underline and be like, he's going to make the practice squad for sure and might be a rotational piece later on.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at it, Anini, PV and Chestnut are like locks for the practice squad, obviously with Mason Kinsey, but they're like the undrafted free agent rookies that are locks. And I think that Corey Levin solidified himself as he should be center number 2, not Aaron Brewer. I think that Corey Levin should be center number 2. He had a great game. Not many people are going to notice it. A lot of people probably think he played all the way in the fourth quarter. He didn't. There were guys, I didn't know who this Willie Wilton or Willie Wharton guy was that was suddenly in a Titans uniform, but give me a break with that fourth offensive line. They're stock up Corey Levin, stock down that entire fourth quarter offensive line needs to be shot into the sun.
Yeah, I am nothing that happened against, and this is, I think, a larger takeaway.
Yeah,
I am still very concerned. The Titans offensive line is the number one biggest circle, neon flashing light concern for this team's chances to win the division and go deep in the playoffs. Full stop.
Yep.
It's not Ryan Tannehill. It is not the secondary. It's not youth and inexperience. It's not. It is the offensive line. That is my thought.
The stock down, obviously, Justin Lawler, who was your guy. Actually.
No, he wasn't.
He was. When we were talking about how to pronounce David and Innie, he goes, you know who I'm looking forward to? Justin Lawler.
I was interested to see what he could do, and
which was nothing.
It was bad.
It was so bad.
It was
so
bad.
terrible. It was so terrible. Chris Jackson, who was also, I didn't
bummer.
have him on my list because I forgot about him, but Donnie D in the chat put him up there. But definitely Chris Jackson was one of them. I mean, terrible night.
He's hurt.
And he only played 12 coverage snaps and allowed almost a catch on all of them, it felt like.
Well, and then with the knee injury, here's the thing. Your boy, you got Shaheem Carter, Greg Maben, and Shakur Brown, who are now going to fight for that spot.
Yep.
So with Jackson being injured for a little while, however long that might be, there's a chance. They've kind of got that opening now at that 6 corner spot. And I think you had Shakur Brown on your list of 5 names we were going to talk about, and I thought he showed some burst. I thought he showed
almost had
quickness.
That interception.
Almost had it. So quickly, if do you want to grade our picks?
Yeah, I think we did pretty well overall.
So we had 5 names that we said we guarantee you we're going to be talking about on Monday, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable if we're not. Racing McMath, number 1, big check mark. Good job on your part. You got that one. Shakur Brown, I think solid check mark there. I think that's a good check mark, and he's maybe earned himself a roster spot. Theo Jackson, we haven't talked about. He was not at practice on Monday. I thought it was clear, like Raiden's, that they didn't give him a ton of snaps. He played early in the game and was out of there. To me, that's a sign that they like him. So that's not really a name we're talking about, so we don't get a big check mark there. But I think he showed why he belongs in the conversation for guys that we're excited about. What do you think about Chance Campbell?
You didn't like what you saw, but I technically did. Now,
okay.
I didn't really have a big issue with it as far as a 6th-round draft pick thrust in a starting spot, playing a lot of snaps.
Yeah, he led the team in snaps, right, on defense, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. And that play against Isaiah Likely, I thought he was in the right position at the right time. And Isaiah Likely is just, he should have never fallen to the Baltimore Ravens. That's something we're all going to be talking about for years on years and years.
Yep.
The level of caliber player between Isaiah Likely and Chance Campbell is vast. And I think Chance Campbell made a spectacular play. And what did he do today? He had like 2 or 3 pass breakups today, too.
Well, yes, it was a pass breakup technically, but it hit him right in the hands, like right in his face. He should have caught it. So, again, that's fine. He was in the right place. He made the right play. My issue with Chance Campbell was kind of what I expected, which is you just can't get lost in the shuffle and be a flow to the tackle kind of guy and get there like 8 yards downfield.
Right.
Like if you're going to be a starting linebacker in the NFL, and maybe he's just a backup we're talking about here because, again, 6th-round pick. I'm not trying to put too many expectations on him. But I just thought he got lost in the flow too often. Like there's not enough moments where he set the edge or he blew up a hole or he took on a blocker or he got to the spot early or it didn't. Again, first game, you're not trying to be too hard on the guy. I will grade us very hard and say that didn't work. That was a bad choice by me. That was a bad choice by me. So
yeah. Now, how do my choices look stacked up to yours? Because we both
you W for because we both had Peavy, so that's even. I had Campbell and Jackson. You had McMath and Brown. You win. Easy.
I tell you who did not win. This will be my last because I already talked about Trenton Cannon. He's stocked down. Jordan Wilkins looked terrible. Terrible. His pass blocking was atrocious. And if you can't pass block on this team as the running back 4 or 5, get your ass off the field. He does not need to be on this roster. I'm tired of this small contingent of fans that have Jordan Wilkins love. He sucks. Get him out of here.
So my only question about him is he runs so much with the ones in 2-minute drill and in 7-on-7 in practice.
Don't get it.
And
Don't
like
understand it.
I'm trying to understand what they're trying to like. I almost would rather see Haskins out there in that situation now.
I agree.
Especially with his ability to catch the ball, which by the way, he was out there on Monday. Haskins was out there in the 2-minute drill. Like, and again, they even throw him a pass. Willis threw him a pass. He made a great play. So I'm curious what they're doing with Wilkins. I can't exactly figure it out.
He was a horrible pass blocker, and he was also a bad blocker down the field. There's times where if he would have turned around way earlier, he could have caught a bass from Malik Willis and bailed him out. He's terrible. He doesn't know what he's doing out there under the limelights. I guess maybe it's maybe he's just a practice guy. I don't get it. I don't understand this love. I've never understood it. I wish you'd be off the team.
Yeah, it's so mean-spirited, but your analysis is spot on. So any other notes from practice? Yeah, again, Kinsey, Theo Jackson, Chris Jackson, Danico Autry not out there on Monday. Elijah Molden's been back for a few days. Dylan Cole's been back for a few days. So nice couple of depth pieces back there. I thought Caleb Farley. Here's my stock up on Caleb Farley. I think you had to mentally. I thought Thursday night was a big hurdle for him. I think mentally, and that's why I think he was out there. I think Fulton was out there because he hasn't had a great camp, and they want him to get some reps. But I think Farley was out there to get over the mental hurdle and get a lather up and get back into knowing what it feels like to be out here. He came back and had a great practice on Monday. I mean, knocked out a couple passes that were intended with first-team offense on the field. I thought he had a really good practice on Monday, and I think there's a confidence growing in him. And I think the first hurdle was to get through that, all right, you're on the field. Your knee's okay. Mentally, you're not – I think that's a big hurdle for him. So I thought that's a stock up in sort of also a different way because I didn't think he was particularly great.
I thought he was better than what it looked like. And here's the thing is it seemed like it was his choice to line up off of the wide receiver in a couple of those plays that I had issues with. So that's easily something correctable because he looks so much better when he's as press all up on his guy. Yep. So, and I think this is a great segue into what we got to see at joint practice this week. You touched on it, but let's start here. These DBs versus these wide receivers is my eyes are glued. Technically, my eyes are glued to the Twitter feed, reading what you all tweet this week. I mean, that is my number one priority thing I want to watch is how does Caleb Farley and this defense, the defensive backs, handle wide receivers that are, let's say, levels above the competition that they have been seeing in preseason and in Tennessee Titans practices.
Yep. There are two battles that I think matter the most this week, and I cannot wait for Wednesday morning to get out there. And that is exactly what you're talking about. That is the Titans DBs against the Buccaneers wide receivers, and it is the Titans offensive line against the Bucs defensive line. Those are the two areas. Those are the two matchups that I think are the most important to learn the most about. Yes, you want to see Willis. Yes, you want to see the Titans receivers. Yes, you want to see the defensive line, like all that other stuff. But it's the Titans offensive line and the Titans defensive backs. Those are the two that I'm watching the closest on Wednesday and Thursday. It's not even close. Now, how much can Kyle Trask test your secondary?
And Blaine Gabbert.
That's a big question. Blaine Gabbert, I know, can't test your secondary. I actually think Kyle Trask is very similar to Tom Brady in how he's built, he's kind of a statue.
Did you see that horrible pass? He's been throwing some bad passes. He's not very good.
So we'll see what it looks like. We'll see what it looks like.
Is Kyle Trask better than Matt Ryan? That is the question. Because Matt Ryan looked like shit. I know that's a little off subject, but I forgot to mention.
Jason asked said, "Did you see Matt Ryan? Perhaps wishful thinking here, but I saw shades of Hasselbeck era Titan."
The Colts offense, first team offense minus Jonathan Taylor, which is still a pretty good offense with Naheem Hines, could not move the ball against the second team Bills defense, and their first team defense couldn't really do much against their second team offense. I mean, Case Keenum and company.
Yeah.
Just saying. I know it's preseason.
It's so hard to do like a 45-minute show about how much you learn from the Titans preseason, and then be like, "Oh, it's preseason; it doesn't matter."
Yeah. No, but to get back on track, I just wanted to throw some Colt slander out there.
That's fine.
To get back on track, I do think you're not going to learn. You're right. How much can you learn with no Tom Brady? That is such a blow to, I think, the defensive outlook, because you could probably tell a whole lot, but it's still Chris Godwin. So it's about how difficult they make it on those quarterbacks. How easy are you going to hear, well, Kyle Trask got a sack because he held on to the ball too long, but Chris Godwin and Mike Evans were both open.
Yeah,
He just didn't
it's
see them
Willis.
for whatever reason.
It's the Willis thing on the game on Thursday. Like,
right.
Burks and Dez are both wide open, and you pulled it down and scrambled. Why did that happen? That
Exactly.
No,
So
nobody.
that's what you got to kind of put into it, right?
Yeah.
If you're someone on Twitter that follows this stuff, you need to. I think a plea out to the media is that, hey, if Kyle Trask is sacked, tell us how it looked down the field. Like
Okay.
what happened down the field.
Okay.
And so we know Caleb Farley looked great. That's why Kyle Trask held on to it, or Kyle Trask just missed a wide open so such and such.
I like it. You're like an assignment editor. I like this.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I will do my best. I just want to see Aaron Brewer against a pass rush.
Yeah.
A straight up bull rush. Can you hold up in pass pro? And then Raidens and MPF on the right side. I want to see the offensive line hold up against a legitimately good defensive front, especially if the Bucs are going to practice with their best players in those situations, which, again, we are hopeful that that's what happens.
Speaking of Brewer, did you see like the ultimate recovery on this one play? He got bulldozed, right? But he somehow spun around and it went from loss to win instead of win to loss. It was loss to win. He was completely beat, but he spun around and caught the guy back on the field.
He is extremely athletic.
He was all up in his lap, though.
He's very fast, but man, if you decide to bull rush him and you weigh 330, I don't know what he's going to do. Yeah. I don't know what he's going to do about that. But again, that's for Keith Carter and Mike Vrabel and all those other guys to figure out.
So we need to see defensive backs versus the Tampa Bay wide receivers. We need to see the offensive line stack up against the defensive line, and then tear down wide receivers / Malik Willis.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I've got. Malik Willis is sort of just again, he sort of just applies to every conversation we're ever going to have until he either starts or is not start. Like it's just, what did Malik Willis do is going to be a thing we're going to talk about. Like that's it. Till he's on the roster, until he's no longer on the roster or he's the starting quarterback. In which case, then we're going to really haunt his Twitter dreams when he's the starting quarterback for the Titans. So I don't know. I'm just excited about like the play. The players say this too. It's cliche, but just so done hitting each other. They're just so done hitting each other. It's time to hit somebody else, and let's see some tempers flare up, baby. That is the fun part of this part of the camp, and pretty soon we're gonna have actual football games.
I know. I'm excited.
Hey, it's getting closer.
Speaking of tempers flaring.
Oh yeah, real quickly here. So if you didn't follow this, Coach Cal at Kentucky basically told The Athletic that, hey, he wants basketball practice facilities. Kentucky just got theirs approved for football, so he's kind of like a little ticked off right now, and he and Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director, don't have the greatest relationship, relatively speaking, but Mitch is one of the best ADs in the country, and Cal's one of the best coaches in the country. But he goes after the coach, and he says the football team. Now, apparently he called Mark Stoops, because Mark Stoops retweets him, and he's like, we're in the SEC, bro, like 10-win seasons, bowl wins. I don't know what league you're talking about. We're a football conference. And so Cal, and this is what I know kind of happened behind the scenes. Cal calls Stoops, and Stoops won't answer the call. Then Mitch Barnhart, the AD, says, don't put out a statement, Cal, even though Cal should have probably put out a statement, and it would have ended all of this. But Mitch Barnhart made it worse, the AD. And then Stoops has to have a press conference on Saturday. He didn't call this like Jimbo Fisher. He had to have a press conference after a scrimmage. So, of course, he's asked about it. And he drops this like, hey, I'm defending my players. We've done a lot of work. We've busted our ass for 10 years. Look what we've accomplished. 10-win season. We weren't born on third base like some other people were.
Right.
Which is my favorite line, because it's clearly a reference to how Coach Cal is fortunate to be at the best basketball program in America or whatever. And I think it's all going to blow over, but God, I love it when these guys who have these giant egos can't even get past the same logo on their chest.
It's wild. And Kentucky of all schools, right? Like the most innocuous of the, football world and all this stuff. They're just like fighting each other for no real reason.
And that's kind of why, though, because he's fighting for respect, and he's getting money and patience and investment from the administration, and Coach Cal's asking for it. But honestly, Cal, when's Kentucky never invested in basketball? When's when has that ever been an actual thing that you've been worried about? So yeah. I love it. Go check out the clips. It's fantastic. It's amazing. And Tim says on Twitter, is this the first time that the Kentucky basketball team has ever been jealous of the football team? And maybe it is.
Feels like it.
Dude, they're rattling off 10-win seasons in football. They're getting everything they ask for from the administration. And Coach Cal's like, I just want a practice facility. Have you ever seen the dorm rooms for the Kentucky basketball players?
Sure they got probably flat screen TVs and theater rooms and all this shit.
It's like its own like block in like Germantown. It looks like one of these brand new high tech 12-foot ceilings and granite countertops and like, stainless steel appliances and flat screen TV. Like they live in a luxury hotel. Wouldn't you if you're a basketball player in Kentucky? Like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's absolutely hilarious. I have nothing else to add other than I'm here for the petty and I love watching coaches fight, but definitely at the same school.
Oh, it's incredible. Incredible drama. Incredible news.
It's so good. All right. Can't wait for joint practices on Thursday. We'll be back on Thursday. Please just share the show with somebody. We know that more of you are coming to us on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and on the podcast, and we love you guys for hanging out with us. Zach loves you also. I love you just as much as Zach, and we appreciate you guys. So just tell somebody about it. Share the product. Turn on the notifications. All that great stuff. Support the sponsors. Kingston Group, Weiss Liquors, our great title sponsors. Where can they follow you, Zach, and all of your shows and all your products? Because you got some stuff coming for folks too.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at FWordsPod. Basically, just follow me on Twitter. I mean, because then you're going to figure out everything. You're going to figure out who's the new co-host coming up, who's the new sponsor that we're going to be debuting this week.
Oh,
we got all kinds of stuff. So you got to follow me on Twitter, turn on my notifications. I don't tweet that much. Sometimes it just depends on how much alcohol I have in me.
Until you go on a PFF rant.
Yeah. But you're going to get some valuable information. You need to follow Braden on Twitter at Braden Gall. Turn on his notifications because you're going to get all kinds of college football insight that you can't get anywhere else from the local media. The best in the local media in the biz. Look at that.
Go on.
And then you have 440 Sports, which has all sports podcasts. Nashville Predators, Nashville Soccer. You have SEC. You have NFL. You have Tennessee Titans. You have it all here in one spot, one network, 440 Sports.
Yep. And of course, Broadway Sports Media. You got to check out all their stuff as well. The YouTube page, 440 Sports. Kevin, you're right. Always here for the petty. And we'll see you guys on Thursday, of course. Cannot wait for joint practice reports on Thursday's show. We will do it for you coming up 1 o'clock every single Monday and Thursday. For Zach, I am Braden. Thank you guys for hanging out. For Kingston Group and Weiss Liquors, that's it. That's been the whole show. This is a football show, Zach. Thanks for watching, everybody.